In the dream space, the remnants of the intense battle linger, with the defeated foe's energy twisting into a dense, swirling vortex. Lu Sheng stands with his arms wide open, surrounded by shattering dark energy, feeling a sense of liberation as he releases his power. A confident smile returns to his face as he admits to himself that he has finally managed to take down this difficult opponent. Lu Sheng reflects on the difficulty of the battle against the level 13 zombie, whose name was Lei Futian. He recalls how the creature used to humiliate him, beating him more than 10 times in the past due to its terrifying regeneration abilities. However, Lu Sheng notes that after breaking through to level 11, the tables turned. He remembers the decisive moment where he landed a brutal knee strike to the zombie's face, thinking that while the rewards of the battle are nice, the feeling of accomplishment from finally winning is the most important thing. Looking down at his hand, Lu Sheng observes the residual energy, describing it as a peculiar combination of lightning palm marks that resemble a terrifying thunderstorm. His expression turns serious and analytical as he contemplates the power hierarchy. He theorizes that while levels 11 and 12 are about controlling rules, level 13 represents a much higher power, the kingdom of laws. He reaches out as if trying to grasp this concept, realizing that the power of laws is a direct derivation of the universe's origin, making it the most essential force. He visualizes this power as a massive cosmic swirl, understanding that while rules only capture the pulse of how the world works, laws touch the actual essence of that function. To make sense of this complex idea, Lu Sheng uses a video game analogy. He thinks that if the universe is a game, everyone below level 11 is just a common player who is ignorant and must obey the game's mechanics. He imagines the higher levels as different types of players. Those at levels 11 and 12 are veteran players who know how to use the mechanics to their advantage. However, he realizes that reaching level 13 and understanding laws is like becoming a VIP player who can see the game's source code, adjust the data, and even run their own private server. Finally, a comical, chibi version of Lu Sheng appears against a background of computer circuits. He scratches his head, admitting that in a way, he belongs to this high tier of player because he possesses the origin power and can see the code. However, he makes fun of himself, realizing that he is like a computer illiterate person who sees the code but has absolutely no idea how to program or understand it. Lu Sheng clenches his fist tightly, feeling the raw power at his disposal. A confident smile crosses his face as he realizes that he has successfully comprehended the law of thunder. He notes that his other achievements have also broken through to the 6th realm, resulting in a complete transformation and a renewed sense of strength. However, he remains grounded, acknowledging that the memories of the level 13 powerhouse he defeated are vast and complex. He decides he must digest this knowledge and experience slowly, but he is certain that once he fully masters them, defeating anyone below level 13 will be as easy as cutting melons. Lu Sheng continues to analyze the cultivation path. He has an epiphany about why level 12 involves drawing the Milky Way into the body. He realizes it is a necessary step to strengthen the physique in preparation for level 13. He understands the danger, reasoning that without a sufficiently powerful body, the power of laws acts as a double-edged sword that could destroy the user before they even have a chance to wield it. Fortunately, Lu Sheng is not worried. He reflects on his own physical state, noting that because he possesses the immortal martial body combined with the golden glaze body, he can withstand the heavy burden and backlash of the laws even before reaching level 12, securing a supreme advantage for himself. The scene shifts back to the physical world inside the recruitment ship. Lu Sheng, now back in his suit disguise, opens his eyes as his training session concludes. He stands up and extends his mental power to scan the surroundings. He realizes that 7 universal days have passed since he boarded, yet strangely, no one has come to visit him, not even to bring food. He decides to open the door and step out to get some fresh air. As he takes a step into the corridor, his shoe lands on the metal floor grating. With a loud crack, the floor collapses under his foot. Lu Sheng pulls his leg back, commenting on the terrible condition of the ship, amazed that a vessel that is literally falling apart is still capable of performing space jumps. Suddenly, he is startled when a hand claps onto his shoulder and a voice calls out, "Hey, brother." Lu Sheng turns to see a stranger with a cigarette in his mouth, who looks relieved. The man jokes that he finally found someone alive and thought everyone else on the ship was dead. He offers Lu Sheng a cigarette, but Lu Sheng politely declines. The stranger introduces himself as Saya from the Boro Star sector and asks for Lu Sheng's identity. Lu Sheng replies briefly that he is from the Yamu sector. Saya admits he has never heard of that place, but dismisses it casually as he leans against the wall. He then tries to be friendly, asking for Lu Sheng's room number so they can play cards later. However, Lu Sheng immediately turns his back and walks away, simply stating that Saya won't be able to find it, leaving the man calling after him in panic. Left alone in the corridor, Saya smokes his cigarette and looks annoyed, grumbling that since they are all level 11 warriors, Lu Sheng has no reason to act so arrogant and conceited. In the days that follow, Lu Sheng continues his routine of training in the dream world and occasionally coming out for fresh air. However, quite unluckily, every time he steps into the hallway, he runs into Saya, who aggressively tries to act like his best friend. A small comical version of Lu Sheng looks stressed as he suspects that Saya must be loitering in the hallway all day for them to meet so often. He feels relieved that he was cautious enough not to reveal his room location, or else Saya would have definitely come to bother him for card games. Time passes slowly, and just as Lu Sheng starts to feel like the ship has been forgotten in the cosmos, he sits in deep meditation surrounded by a fiery aura. Suddenly, his instincts trigger a sharp warning. His eyes snap open, glowing with a fierce yellow light, as he senses a disturbance and wonders if the ship has met with an accident. Outside, the rusty recruitment ship descends violently, crashing hard onto a rocky surface and kicking up a cloud of debris. The impact is felt inside, sending Lu Sheng tumbling against the wall, leaving him confused as he tries to understand if the ship has just suffered a disaster. Lu Sheng opens the ship's door, looking sweaty and annoyed. He grumbles to himself, wondering if it was really necessary to let this pile of junk drop from space so violently. Suddenly, a large muscular figure blocks the doorway. It is the red-haired elf passenger, who furiously yells at Lu Sheng to get out of the way. As the elf pushes past him with an arrogant huff, he insults Lu Sheng, stating that a good dog doesn't block the path. Lu Sheng remains silent, watching the rude passenger leave with a cold, expressionless stare. However, internally, a small, comical version of Lu Sheng crosses his arms and sighs. He thinks to himself that the techniques of the immortal Dao are truly impressive for building character. If this were the old him, he surely would have twisted the elf's head off by now. He jokingly notes that his level of patience has gone up again. Lu Sheng exits the ship, descending in a beam of light. He sees that the massive, rusted vessel has landed on a rocky surface, and a large crowd has already gathered at the bottom. He observes the group, noting that these people are all at least level 11, and there are even more level 12 warriors present than he expected. Among them is a swordsman with blue hair and a dark elf with a glowing chest piece. Lu Sheng reflects on his own behavior. He recalls that he used to think his aura was too strong and attention-grabbing, so he deliberately suppressed it. But now, looking at the scene before him, he questions that decision. He watches as the red-haired elf passenger and other warriors flare their auras wildly, laughing and posing. Lu Sheng thinks that these guys are much more arrogant than he is, displaying their power like peacocks competing in a dance, acting like bright torches in the dark universe. Suddenly, something catches Lu Sheng's attention, and his eyes narrow as he notices a specific individual. Standing amidst roaring flames is a man with red hair and a large sword on his shoulder, smiling confidently as he releases a surging wave of fire energy. Saya leans in towards Lu Sheng and points out the red-haired man. He identifies him as Sire, a super genius from the Boro sector. Saya mocks the young man's arrogant appearance, commenting that he looks like a furious turkey. The scene focuses on Sire, who smiles confidently with a large sword on his back, while Saya admits that, at first glance, the guy really does look like a genius. However, Saya's expression turns dark and serious. He questions the value of being a genius, stating that there is no shortage of them on the battlefield. He believes that only those who actually manage to survive the war are the true geniuses. Saya predicts a grim future for Sire, imagining a scenario where the young man's flashy behavior makes him a target for giant alien beasts, leading to a quick death. Hearing this specific grudge, Lu Sheng asks Saya if there is bad blood between him and Sire. Saya looks surprised by the question. His confident attitude instantly vanishes, and he leans in with a sweaty, embarrassed face to whisper the truth. He admits that Sire actually beat him up in the past. He claims this is his biggest secret and that he hasn't told anyone else on the ship, but he is telling Lu Sheng because he considers him a friend. Lu Sheng stands with his arms crossed, listening with a blank expression. Internally, he wonders when they became friends and thinks Saya is being way too familiar. Suddenly, a large man with rock-like skin appears behind Saya, tapping his shoulder and calling his name loudly. The Rockman points directly at Saya in the distance and loudly asks Saya if that isn't the guy who beat him up. Saya freezes in shock, his jaw dropping as his secret is shouted out. Saya explodes in anger, screaming at the Rockman to shut his mouth and asking if he wants everyone to know, reiterating that it was supposed to be a secret. The Rockman scratches his head sheepishly, apologizing and admitting he simply forgot that it was a secret. Saya looks devastated as he realizes his secret is out, while Lu Sheng stands by, watching the chaotic interaction with a side-eye glance. A small comical version of Lu Sheng shrugs his shoulders, feeling speechless and tired of the noisy people around him. An awkward silence falls over the group as Saya frantically tries to manage the situation with the rock-skinned man, while Lu Sheng watches them with a blank expression. Lu Sheng begins to ponder the situation, realizing that Saya's claim about his biggest secret being exclusive was a lie. It seems Saya tells everyone the same story to build false intimacy. Looking at the simple-minded Rockman, Lu Sheng thinks that despite the chaos, the dim-witted giant and the manipulative trickster are actually a perfect match for friends. Saya continues to yell at the Rockman, his face twisted in frustration as he demands that his secret not be spread any further. However, the Rockman ignores the scolding and simply points a finger at Lu Sheng, asking Saya if this man is also his friend. Without any shame, Saya immediately wraps his arm around Lu Sheng's shoulder, laughing loudly and declaring that Lu Sheng is indeed his good brother, although Lu Sheng clearly wants nothing to do with him. The comedic moment is interrupted by a sharp command telling everyone to shut up, which surprises Saya and makes him freeze. The sound of heels clicking on the floor draws attention, as the red-haired officer and the gluttonous captain emerge from a glowing blue portal to address the recruits. They stand atop a raised metal platform, looking down at the crowd of warriors gathered on the rocky ground. With a serious and commanding expression, the red-haired officer announces that they have now officially stepped into the different sky battlefield. The news brings a mix of reactions. The Rockman looks terrified and sweaty, while Saya and Lu Sheng listen with focused expressions. However, Lu Sheng's expression shifts to one of confusion. He glances back at the barren, desolate landscape behind him, finding it hard to believe that this empty, rocky place is the legendary battlefield. The other recruits share his sentiment, murmuring among themselves that this location is completely different from what they had imagined a battlefield would look like. Lu Sheng activates his sensory abilities, extending his perception across the strange purple grid of the new environment. His eyes glow with power as he scans the area, noting with a heavy heart that the surroundings are a complete void, lacking any planets or stars, which gives off an overwhelming feeling of desolation and death. However, his expression quickly shifts to one of amazement as he realizes something unexpected. Standing beside Saya and the rock-skinned man, Lu Sheng analyzes the energy around them. He realizes that the natural cosmic energy here is significantly denser than in the normal starry sky, and the momentum between heaven and earth is very active. He calculates that cultivating in this environment would be 2 or 3 times faster than usual. He is not the only one to realize this. Other recruits nearby are celebrating, with one man holding a glowing ball of energy and exclaiming that this is a treasure land, and that they came to the right place. The red-haired officer interrupts their joy, standing next to the gluttonous captain. She smirks and tells them that while the place has benefits, they are celebrating too early. Her expression turns dark and threatening as she warns them of the reality. From now on, they can be attacked at any time by exotic beasts ranging from level 12 to level 14. She coldly states that if their luck or strength is lacking, they will simply die here. Instead of being fearful, many of the warriors burst into laughter, mocking the danger. The red-haired genius, Saer, raises his sword with a wild grin, declaring that this dangerous place suits him perfectly. Other recruits flex their muscles and look confident, boasting that if the beasts come, they will just kill them. In stark contrast to the arrogant crowd, Saya looks terrified and sweaty. He stammers as he asks the red-haired officer if there isn't a base or some kind of facility for them. Beside him, the rock-skinned man also looks worried, pointing at the bare ground and asking if they are really expected to just stay out in the open. Lu Sheng remains silent but stares intensely, realizing that entering this battlefield likely means they will have free action, without any safety or base to return to. The red-haired officer reassures the group, stating that the 100 Great Star Sectors naturally have a base to defend against the invasion of the Dark Side Universe beasts. However, her expression remains serious as she explains the complication. The coordinates within the different sky battlefield are unstable. Relying solely on the spaceship's jump capabilities makes it impossible to lock onto the base's location accurately, meaning they have landed quite a long distance away. Standing beside the captain, she admits that their luck was not good this time, and the nearest base is actually very far from their current position. Saya, smoking his cigarette, looks puzzled and asks a logical question. If the base is so far away, why don't they just take the spaceship and fly there instead of walking? Beside him, the rock-skinned man also looks confused, trying to understand the situation. The red-haired officer looks down at them with a challenge in her eyes, coldly stating that if they want to fly, they can go ahead, no one will stop them. Saya and the rock man are left scratching their heads, not understanding the hidden danger in her words, while Lu Sheng stands silently in the foreground, his mind already working on the answer. Lu Sheng speaks up, his expression serious. He deduces that if exotic beasts are common in this battlefield, then flying in a spaceship would be suicidal. He explains that a ship would not get far before being shot down, noting that even a level 12 spaceship would be instantly destroyed in an explosion if it encountered a high-level beast. Continuing his explanation to the confused Saya, Lu Sheng points out that a large spaceship easily attracts attention. Furthermore, he adds a crucial detail: high-level beasts can affect technology, so it is doubtful if a tech-based ship would even function properly in their presence. Suddenly, the sound of clapping interrupts Lu Sheng's analysis. The gluttonous captain, smiling broadly and adjusting his glasses, praises Lu Sheng for being absolutely correct. He adds that because the entry coordinates are unstable, the recruitment ships often end up scrapped or destroyed. This explains why they use such old, shabby ships. There is no need to waste a high-quality vessel on a journey where it will likely be lost. The gluttonous captain addresses the crowd of recruits, explaining that their next task is actually very simple. They just need to keep up with the team. However, the atmosphere shifts instantly as he lowers his head, his glasses glowing ominously. With a sinister smirk, he finishes his sentence with the grim reality of their mission. They just need to survive. The ominous declaration sends a wave of shock and anxiety through the crowd of warriors, who realize this is not going to be a simple march. The red-haired officer adds a harsh condition to his statement. She tells them that until they actually manage to reach the different sky base alive, they aren't even qualified to address them as officer. As she speaks, the captain leaps high into the air, initiating the departure. Watching the display of authority, the arrogant genius sire looks annoyed and unimpressed, scoffing with a look of disdain. The officers do not wait for anyone. They streak across the sky in beams of colored light, forcing the recruits to move immediately if they want to keep up. On the ground, the rock-skinned man points out to Saya that Sire, whom he refers to as the guy who beat you up, seems to have friction with the guides. Saya looks at the scene with curiosity. A malicious grin spreads across Saya's face as he explains why. He reveals that Sire had offended the officers earlier by demanding a room change during the trip. Saya predicts with delight that the arrogant genius is about to face some bad luck. However, Saya's mood snaps back to anger in an instant. He screams furiously at the rock man, begging him to stop adding the prefix, "the one who beat you up," every time he mentions Sire's name. The rock man crouches down, apologizing innocently. The moment turns to speechlessness when the rock man, completely missing the point of the previous conversation, scratches his head and asks if they can still fix the spaceship to fly there. Saya looks at him with a tired, sweaty expression, realizing that the big guy didn't understand a single word of Lu Sheng's earlier warning about the dangers of flying. Saya urges the group to hurry, noting that they have fallen behind the main group and need to catch up as they fly through the void, leaving trails of light behind them. As they fly, Saya leans in to defend the rock-skinned man's intelligence, telling Lu Sheng that the guy, whose name is Tang Dun, is actually a good person, just a bit rock-headed and slow to understand things. Lu Sheng looks confused and asks for clarification on the name. Saya pauses, looking baffled, and admits he thought the rock man's name was Murphy. Lu Sheng looks at him with a mix of disbelief and judgment, realizing that Saya claims to be best friends with everyone but doesn't even know their real names. The group travels through the void. The level 12 powerhouses, who make up 80% of the group, are serious and silent, barely communicating as they follow the guides. In contrast, the small group of level 11 warriors, including Lu Sheng, have formed small cliques and are chatting amongst themselves to relieve the tension. This is especially true for the chatty Saya and the honest Tang Dun, who are making a lot of noise. Lu Sheng appears in the foreground with a speechless expression, clearly finding their energy exhausting. Lu Sheng sighs internally, analyzing the social dynamic. He reflects that generally, only the weak group together for safety. He considers Tang Dun an anomaly because, despite being a level 12 warrior, he chooses to mix with the level 11 group. Lu Sheng then ironically reminds himself that he is technically level 11 as well. As they travel deeper into the battlefield, the environment becomes increasingly chaotic. Lu Sheng observes that the laws of physics are broken here, strange creatures appear out of thin air, and gravity fluctuates wildly, vanishing completely in some spots and becoming crushingly heavy in others. Huge, serpentine monsters and gaping maws emerge from the mist below them. Lu Sheng returns to his gaming analogy. He concludes that if the universe is a program, this battlefield is a gray area, full of program errors and chaotic code. He realizes that in such a disordered environment, a sudden attack by a powerful beast would be extremely dangerous for the group. However, instead of fear, a smile creeps across Lu Sheng's lips. His eyes glow with a terrifying blue light as his excitement peaks. He thinks to himself that he has not yet had the chance to crush a level 13 exotic beast to death with his own hands, and he is genuinely looking forward to the opportunity. As Lu Sheng flies forward, he secretly activates the mysterious spirit record inside his body. The white, golden core in his dantian begins to spin slowly, greedily absorbing the surrounding natural energy. He can clearly sense his immortal cells being born one after another, strengthening him even as he travels. Lu Sheng observes his surroundings and notices that he is not the only one working hard. Many other recruits are also secretly cultivating while they travel, not wasting a single moment. Nearby, the bald companion of the genius sire comments that the different sky battlefield doesn't seem like much, noting that it isn't nearly as dangerous as the guides claim. Suddenly, something catches Lu Sheng's attention. He looks down to see Saya and Tang Dun breaking away from the formation and diving rapidly toward a body of water below. With a splash of blue energy, the two descend and submerge themselves into the water. Moments later, Saya emerges triumphantly holding a strange blue multi-eyed fish. Saya laughs excitedly, acting as if they are on a field trip rather than a battlefield, shouting that he caught one. Lu Sheng watches them with a contemplative look. He realizes that because they haven't seen even a single hair of an exotic beast yet, many people who were initially cautious are starting to relax their guard. He notes that aside from the strange gravity and force fields, this place looks like a mysterious paradise, leading careless people like Saya to play around while traveling. Suddenly, Lu Sheng's expression freezes in shock as his senses pick up a terrifying disturbance. Beneath the calm green surface of the water, a massive dark shadow begins to surge and move toward the surface. Reacting instantly, Lu Sheng reaches out and firmly clamps his hand onto Saya's shoulder. With a serious expression, he warns the confused Saya to stop playing immediately and prepare for battle. The gluttonous captain suddenly shouts for the group to stop, raising his hand to halt the formation. His expression is grim as he announces that he senses the aura of a high-level exotic beast approaching. He orders everyone to prepare for battle immediately. Saya, recalling that Lu Sheng had warned him just moments before, looks at Lu Sheng in shock. He asks how Lu Sheng managed to discover the beast even earlier than the high-ranking officers did. Meanwhile, the surrounding recruits are confused and skeptical. They look around aimlessly, commenting that they don't feel anything and asking where the beast is. Lu Sheng stares forward intensely, simply attributing his warning to intuition. Internally, however, he thinks about how he hasn't fought an exotic beast since leaving the Azure planet. He notes that he has never seen what a beast above level 9 looks like and is curious. He reflects on the knowledge that while level 10 beasts grow in size, level 11 beasts undergo a qualitative change and actually shrink. As he thinks this, a dark, condensed shadow forms on the water's surface. Suddenly, the enemy emerges, a humanoid warrior in armor wielding a crystal spear, riding atop a massive red beast. The mount glares at the recruits with a terrifying, swirling eye. The red-haired officer turns sharply to face the threat, ready for combat. Chaos erupts as the arrogant genius Sar takes the initiative. He charges forward recklessly, diving toward the water to meet the enemy head-on, while the others watch. A massive, shark-like beast ridden by the armored warrior crashes down with tremendous force. Saya watches with a jaw-dropped expression, shocked that Sayer has actively chosen to attack the level 12 beast leader all by himself. Sayer, glowing with energy, fearless charges straight into the open mouth of the giant beast, surrounded by multiple armored enemies. Sayer scoffs at his opponent, calling the armored rider trash as he gathers energy in his hand. With a brutal strike, he punches directly through the enemy's chest, shouting for them to die as his energy pierces through the armor. As the enemy falls, Sayer notices something glowing inside the wound and reaches in, realizing it is a crystal core. Holding the purple gem up to the light of space, Sayer is amazed to find that it contains incredibly pure cosmic energy. Without hesitation, he throws the crystal into his mouth and swallows it whole with a loud gulp. The effect is immediate. Sayer bursts with power, feeling an intense wave of pleasure. He realizes that the crystal contains fragments of rules, which has saved him decades of hard cultivation work. He celebrates this amazing discovery. Seeing Sayer's rapid increase in power, the other recruits, and even the officers in the background, are shocked. Someone shouts asking if there really is such a wonderful item. Driven by greed and the desire for power, the entire group of recruits charges forward, shouting for everyone to attack together so they can claim their own crystals. Lu Sheng stays back and observes Sayer with a critical eye. He notes that Sayer is indeed a genius. At level 12, he has already integrated 2 rule Milky Ways into his body, and a third one is beginning to appear. Lu Sheng acknowledges that for an ordinary talent, achieving this would take a lifetime of effort. Lu Sheng looks at his own hand, realizing that this place allows them to directly absorb the power of rules from these cores. He considers it a miracle medicine that could save them immense amounts of time in their training. Motivated by this discovery, the other recruits brutally attack the remaining beast riders, easily defeating them. One by one, they rip the purple crystal cores from the chests of the fallen enemies. The recruits hold up their prizes, laughing greedily as they look at the energy sources they have acquired. However, the celebration is interrupted. The gluttonous captain appears floating behind Sayer with a calm demeanor. He praises Sayer for being smart enough to use the cores to increase his strength, confirming that they do contain rule fragments. However, he ominously adds that they also contain quite a lot of impurities. The captain's expression turns serious as he delivers a terrifying warning. If they absorb these crystals directly without purifying them first, it won't be long before they transform into slaves of the dark side. Hearing this, Sayer freezes, his face filled with shock and horror as he realizes the dangerous mistake he just made. Despite the terrifying warning about turning into a slave of the dark side, Sayer remains completely unfazed. He glares back with cold confidence, telling the captain not to worry because he knows exactly what he is doing. Seeing that the warning has been delivered, the gluttonous captain smiles and simply orders everyone to put the cores away for now and continue the journey. The recruits, still holding the tempting purple gems, hesitate for a moment before stashing them away. As they move out, Saya leans in to whisper to Tangdun, his face lighting up with greed. He ignores the risks and focuses entirely on the reward, stating that since the cores can directly strengthen a warrior, this dangerous trip is absolutely worth it. Tangdun, however, looks deeply concerned. He reminds Saya that the officer specifically mentioned side effects and the danger of falling into darkness. Saya waves his hand dismissively, confident in his own theory. He argues that it is just a possibility, and claims that Sayer is just a reckless hothead who doesn't know the proper absorption method. Saya believes that as long as the cores are purified first, the downsides can be completely avoided. Lu Sheng listens and silently analyzes the situation. He realizes that with his unique constitution, he actually could absorb the exotic beast crystal cores perfectly. However, he shakes his head, deciding it isn't necessary. He calculates that the small amount of energy in these fragments is negligible compared to the gains he gets from killing a few high-level zombies in his dream space, so it isn't worth the trouble or the risk. In the time that follows, the group encounters several more waves of exotic beasts. A frenzy takes over the group. The narrator describes the level 12 warriors rushing at the monsters with desperate greed, looking like men who haven't seen a woman in 10 years, wishing they could devour everything in sight. Because of this overwhelming gap in power and aggression, the loot distribution becomes incredibly lopsided. Sayer is shown carrying a massive beast carcass, looking smug and satisfied. Meanwhile, the level 11 warriors are left standing empty-handed and furious. Saya screams in frustration, cursing that the level 12 powerhouses have divided everything up among themselves, leaving absolutely nothing for the weaker members of the team. Tangdun, seeing his friend's frustration, acts with kindness. He scratches his head and holds out the purple crystal core he obtained, offering to give it to Saya since Saya came up empty-handed. However, Saya's pride won't allow him to accept the gift. He turns away and runs, firmly rejecting the offer and declaring that he wants to hunt a beast with his own hands rather than take a handout. Suddenly, a hand clamps down tightly on Saya's arm, stopping him in his tracks. It is Lu Sheng. He looks at the impulsive warrior calmly and tells him not to be in such a hurry. He reassures Saya that since they are already on the battlefield, there will be endless opportunities to kill beasts and get cores in the future. Lu Sheng advises him that the most important thing right now is not the loot, but to use this opportunity to study the strength and attack methods of the exotic beasts, warning that they won't have such a safe chance to learn once they reach the base. Hearing this logic, Saya realizes his mistake. He nods enthusiastically, agreeing with Lu Sheng's wisdom and thanking him for the reminder. However, as he looks at Lu Sheng, a question forms in his mind. He wonders internally why Lu Sheng, who supposedly has average strength, gives off such a steady, reliable, and calm feeling. A mysterious smirk plays on Lu Sheng's lips. Without another word, he bursts forward, flying away with incredible speed and leaving his companions behind. Watching him go, Saya is left in deep thought. He notes that although Lu Sheng appears to be an ordinary level 11 warrior, he has an air of absolute confidence, as if everything is under his control. He wonders to himself who this mysterious man really is. As the trio flies through the starry void of the battlefield, Saya finds himself deep in thought while observing Lu Sheng. He analyzes Lu Sheng's demeanor, noting that he has only seen such a specific temperament in top-tier figures. He concludes that whether Lu Sheng has a special background or just immense reliability, he is definitely not an ordinary person. Watching Lu Sheng move with a serious and focused expression, Saya feels a surge of fortune. He smiles to himself, thinking that he is incredibly lucky to have met these two companions. One is a kind-hearted person, referring to the rockman Tang Dun, and the other is a mysterious and powerful figure like Lu Sheng. Saya's thoughts drift to a memory of an old female astrologer who once predicted that he would have good luck. At the time, he thought she was just a scammer, but now he wonders if she actually correctly predicted that his life's major turning point would happen here on the different sky battlefield. A look of satisfaction crosses his face as he reflects on his journey. He admits to himself that he originally came to this dangerous place out of desperation because his progress had stalled and he saw no other hope of advancing. However, looking at his current situation, he believes he truly made the right choice. The large group continues their journey through space for several more cosmic days. During this period, they face constant attacks, encountering dozens of waves of enemies. These threats range from small groups of level 11 beasts to massive armies of skeleton-like undead creatures led by 3 level 12 commanders. The battles are chaotic and driven by greed. A green-haired warrior is seen ferociously cutting down skeleton monsters with a large blade, shouting for them to surrender their energy crystals. The atmosphere among the recruits turns into one of celebration, as many of the level 12 warriors are left satisfied and excited after harvesting the valuable glowing beast cores from their fallen enemies. The temptation of power proves too strong for some. Following Sayer's dangerous example, several other recruits begin absorbing the energy from the exotic beast cores directly into their bodies, with the benefits of increased strength becoming immediately evident. Sayer secures the biggest rewards of the battle. He fights like a madman, swinging his sword and slaughtering the skeletal beasts without mercy, snatching up the loot before anyone else can react. The other recruits, intimidated by his overwhelming power, do not dare to compete with him and can only watch with resentment. However, the cost of this power becomes clear. As Sayer becomes visibly stronger, his personality twists, becoming increasingly arrogant, conceited, and unhinged as he laughs maniacally. Another key figure is introduced, the person with the second largest harvest, a man named Huang Ji. Unlike the flashy Sar, Huang Ji is discreet and low-key, focusing silently on hunting down the beasts. The greed among the group escalates to theft. In one instance, a level 12 martial artist shamelessly kills a monster that another recruit was fighting, stealing the prize. The victim turns around and shouts furiously, asking how he dares to rob him. Huang Ji suddenly releases his suppressed power. The outburst shocks everyone present, revealing that this quiet, unknown man actually possesses terrifying strength that is not inferior to Saer's at all. Meanwhile, Lu Sheng, Saya, and Tang Dun watch the chaotic slaughter of the beast army from the side. Sayer continues his rampage, screaming for his enemies to die while laughing crazily. Saya looks at the scene with disgust and frustration. He complains to Tang Dun that Sayer is being completely shameless, acting like a rabid dog by stooping so low as to steal a weak level 10 beast from level 11 warriors like them. Saya swears that if he were strong enough, he would give Saer a beating, though Tang Dun looks at him skeptically, asking if he would really dare to do it. Lu Sheng observes the changing dynamic of the group with a critical eye. He notes that, perhaps feeling threatened by the silent rise of Huang Ji, Sayer has developed an intense possessive competitiveness. While Sayer used to leave some scraps for the others, he has now become completely greedy, acting like a dog guarding its food. Ignoring all the warnings given by the guides earlier, Sayer tosses another raw, unpurified crystal core directly into his mouth, swallowing it whole to gain more power instantly. Watching this display, Lu Sheng looks at him with a gaze full of judgment, thinking to himself that Sayer is an idiot. He reflects that he initially thought Sayer was stronger than Monroe, but seeing this reckless behavior, he realizes that might not necessarily be true. The tension finally snaps among the other recruits. A man in a green suit screams furiously at Sire, accusing him of going too far and trying to hoard every single benefit for himself. Sire turns to face the angry mob, his body erupting in a blazing aura of martial fire. The recruits curse him, calling him a shameless bastard and venting their pent-up anger. However, Sayer is not intimidated. He glares at them with a glowing red eye and a twisted expression, coldly challenging them. He tells them that if they are angry, they are welcome to try and rob him, but only if they are capable of defeating him first. Feeling humiliated by his disdain, the group of recruits draws their weapons, shouting that he shouldn't underestimate them. But before they can even launch an attack, Saar moves with blinding speed. He lands a surprise punch squarely on the face of the man who spoke up first. The impact is devastating, and as the man is crushed under the blow, Saar screams at him to shut up, dismissing him as nothing more than a piece of trash. The red-haired officer notices the situation spiraling out of control. Her expression turns furious as she screams for the recruits to stop immediately. However, her command goes unheard amidst the chaos. The recruits have completely lost their minds to greed and anger, ignoring their superior officer as they continue to attack each other, shouting to grab the target. A group of recruits surrounds Sire, believing they can overwhelm him with superior numbers. They shout, asking if he really thinks he can defeat them all. Sire, engulfed in blazing flames, simply scoffs at them. He calls them a bunch of trash. With a series of brutal, fiery strikes, he decimates the group. He declares that even if trash gathers together, it is still trash, and threatens to kill them all as he blasts them away in a fiery explosion. Watching the carnage from the sidelines, Saya looks horrified. Sweat pours down his face as he asks Lu Sheng if everyone has gone crazy to be fighting each other in such a dangerous place. He suggests they ignore it and just keep moving forward. However, as he speaks, a terrifying change comes over Saya. His eyes suddenly glow with a sinister red light, and his expression twists into a malicious evil grin. The dark influence of the battlefield has corrupted his mind. He whispers to Lu Sheng with a creepy smile, suggesting that they should go up and ambush Sire right now to kill him. Before the madness can fully take root, a sharp slap echoes through the air. Lu Sheng delivers a hard backhand slap across Saya's face. The impact snaps Saya out of his trance instantly. Saya holds his swollen cheek in confusion, while Lu Sheng calmly tells him to wake up because he had gone crazy. Saya rubs his face, looking terrified as he realizes he almost lost control like the others. Lu Sheng stands with his arms crossed, looking cool and collected, simply telling Saya not to bother thanking him. Saya stands trembling, clutching his chest in a state of belated terror. He questions himself in shock, wondering how he could have possibly had such a suicidal thought just moments ago. A vision of his own death appears in his mind. He realizes with horror that if he, a level 11 warrior, had actually tried to ambush a level 12 powerhouse like Sire, he would have been instantly slaughtered without even knowing how he died. Overcome with relief and gratitude, Saya throws his arms around Lu Sheng, crying comically and thanking him profusely for saving his life. Lu Sheng, however, looks uncomfortable and disgusted by the sudden intimacy, thinking to himself that Saya is too close and it is gross. Beside them, the rockman Tang Dun scratches his head, looking confused and sweaty. He admits that he also felt as if his emotions were being strangely affected during the chaos. Saya, with tears still on his face, looks at Lu Sheng and asks if he felt it too. Lu Sheng simply closes his eyes and gives a mysterious faint chuckle, avoiding the question entirely. His eyes then snap open, glowing with a sharp blue light as he stares ahead with intensity, leaving his two companions looking at him in confusion. Although Sayer is surrounded by 6 attackers, he manages to maintain the upper hand. Surrounded by raging flames, he fights back with a defiant, arrogant, and haughty posture, striking fear into those trying to rob him. Seeing the situation deteriorating, the red-haired officer steps in to intervene. Despite having a bad relationship with Sawyer during the journey, she steps to his side to assist. She manifests a large golden energy barrier to block the swords of the attacking recruits, shouting loudly for everyone to calm down and stop the madness immediately. Lu Sheng analyzes the recent fight, commenting that while Sayer is undeniably strong, he only managed to survive that beating because the guide intervened to save him. Lighting a cigarette with a frustrated expression, Saya questions the guide's decision. He wonders why she would help someone like that, suggesting that perhaps if the mob had been allowed to beat Sayer up, their anger would have been satisfied and the chaos would have ended. Suddenly, a hand clamps firmly onto Saya's shoulder, startling him and interrupting his train of thought. Beside him, Tang Dun looks grave and terrified as he corrects Saya's naive assumption. He realizes that the mob didn't just want to teach Sire a lesson or give him a beating. The reality of the situation is revealed. The attackers had genuine killing intent, wishing to murder Sire to take his resources, and Sire, in his madness, fully intended to slaughter them in return. Saya turns pale, sweating as he finally grasps the severity of what is happening around them, asking in horror what is going on with everyone. However, Lu Sheng does not join in the panic. He stands with a cold, sharp expression, his eyes glowing blue. He remains completely silent. The chaotic battle royale continues in the different sky battlefield's void, with explosions of fire and energy erupting as recruits fight amongst themselves. Sire, consumed by madness, swings his blade with lethal intent at another recruit who barely evades the strike, screaming for blood. From a safe distance, Saya, Tang Dun, and Lu Sheng witness the carnage. Saya watches in shock at how quickly the situation has deteriorated. Suddenly, a realization strikes Saya. He glares at the fighting mob, sweating as he connects the dots. Every person fighting had greedily absorbed the exotic beast cores earlier. Lu Sheng turns to Saya, remarking that he wasn't as foolish as he seemed for not partaking in the loot. Saya envisions the purple crystal core with horror, realizing its terrifying side effects. The corruption is so strong that even powerful level 12 warriors are unable to resist losing their minds. Saya's fear turns to indignation. He complains loudly that the guide was too irresponsible and should have given a more serious warning about the items, though he admits he's lucky he didn't get one. However, his anger fades to confusion. He touches his chin, puzzled, wondering why he was also affected by the bloodlust earlier, enough to almost attack Sire since he never absorbed a crystal. Lu Sheng, arms crossed, delivers a harsh dose of reality. He bluntly tells Saya he was affected simply because he is too weak, a statement that strikes Saya like a spear through the heart. Saya explodes in embarrassment and rage at the insult, screaming at Lu Sheng, who responds with a faint, confident smile. But Saya quickly stops himself, sweating as he looks at Lu Sheng with a sudden epiphany. He stares at Lu Sheng's back with a heavy expression, thinking that while Lu Sheng is supposedly a level 11 warrior like him, he gives off a mysterious feeling of power and stability that sets him apart. Lu Sheng begins to explain his deduction to his confused companions, starting with the phrase, "if I'm not mistaken." He points toward the depths of the green starry void, suggesting a specific entity in that direction is manipulating the entire area's magnetic field. Lu Sheng explains the attack is an overwhelming influence, like a giant hand gripping them, that makes everyone irritable and irrational, causing the chaos they just witnessed. Saya and Tang Dun are shocked by this revelation, asking what kind of existence could possess such power. With his eyes glowing blue from spiritual power, Lu Sheng elaborates that this entity magnifies the negative impurities from the exotic beast cores thousands of times, an influence so strong it even affects bystanders. The realization strikes absolute terror into Saya and Tang Dun. Tang Dun sweats nervously as a terrifying silhouette appears in his mind. He speculates this foe is far stronger than a normal level 12 beast, possibly a general level exotic beast at peak level 13. The mere mention of a general-level beast sends Saya and Tang Dun reeling in panic, unable to believe something so powerful is nearby. Saya, his face twisted in fear, explains that a level 13 powerhouse is a dominant force usually only seen in the main star sectors. He trembles with frustration, cursing their terrible luck for encountering such an overwhelming boss right after entering the battlefield, joking bitterly that with this luck, he should buy a lottery ticket. While his two companions hug and cry comically over their impending doom, Lu Sheng ignores them and looks around with a sharp, searching gaze. He falls into deep thought, noticing the recruit Huang Ji has already quietly fled. Lu Sheng realizes Huang Ji seems even more familiar with the battlefield than their guides, having sensed the danger and escaped early. Tang Dun, sweating with anxiety, turns to the calm Lu Sheng and asks what they should do, wondering if they should flee. Before Lu Sheng can answer, a panicked Saya grabs him, shouting that they must run away immediately. He reminds them that a level 13 exotic beast will annihilate them if they stay. However, Saya's panicked outburst has an unintended consequence. The other fighting recruits stop and turn in shock, overhearing his warning about a level 13 threat. Instead of fleeing, the now sobered recruits begin to surround the trio. Saya becomes the center of their attention, looking terrified and nervously asking why everyone is staring at him. The tense standoff is broken by the gluttonous captain's furious roar. He screams at the recruits, ordering anyone who knows about the beast and wants to live to stop their foolishness at once. To enforce his command, the captain unleashes a massive surge of purple spiritual energy that washes over the group. The recruits are instantly cowed, their faces filled with terror as they feel the overwhelming pressure of his aura. With the situation controlled, the captain stands with arms crossed, looking down on them with disappointment. He scolds them, asking if they are such rookies they don't even understand the meaning of danger. He glares at the group, adding that if such a small fluctuation made them fight amongst themselves, they can continue and die, because he is leaving them behind. As the captain begins to fly away, a defiant sire, still in his battle frenzy, shouts after him. He accuses the captain of joking, unable to believe a level 13 beast is actually present. The captain doesn't turn around, simply letting out a soft, mocking chuckle as he departs, leaving Sire fuming at being so easily dismissed. The gluttonous captain explains that general-level exotic beasts project a dark field that influences the minds of all living beings in an area. He confirms this field was why they all lost control moments ago. This revelation leaves Sire shocked and speechless, finally understanding the source of his uncontrollable rage. The other recruits are also terrified, realizing with horror that if the beast's passive influence could cause such chaos, they would stand no chance in a direct fight. The power gap between level 12 and 13 is far greater than they imagined. However, the captain looks down at them and clarifies the situation isn't as exaggerated as they think, stating the primary reason for their loss of control was their own recklessness. He explains that if they had waited to purify the exotic beast cores, with a special method at the base, the influence they suffered would have been minimal. He notes the difference between the corrupted state from direct consumption versus the calm state after purification. Sire furiously shouts at the captain, demanding to know why he wasn't told about this method earlier. Another recruit agrees, saying they wouldn't have fought each other if they had known. The captain responds with cold disdain, retorting that his only job is to get them to the base, not to be their father and give away secret techniques for free. As the red-haired officer appears beside him, he adds that she had already warned them not to absorb the cores directly, but they were too arrogant to listen. With a final, furious glare, the captain tells them to face reality. Until they reach the base alive, they don't even qualify as new recruits. This harsh truth stuns the group into silence, their previous arrogance completely shattered. Their thoughts return to the immediate threat, their expressions turning grim as they contemplate the level 13 beast nearby. Looking up at the two guides calmly floating in the distance, a recruit nervously asks what they are supposed to do now. The gluttonous captain calms the nervous recruits, assuring them the situation is not as dire as it seems. He explains they have special methods to detect the beast's energy, allowing them to take a detour and avoid it. The red-haired officer adds with a confident smile that as long as they are not exceptionally unlucky, no accidents should happen. With a sharp snap of her fingers, she summons a large, glowing holographic map of the area. A complex sphere of light appears, and she explains their plan is simple. They just need to avoid the coordinates marked on the map to stay safe. This clear strategy brings a wave of relief over the recruits, who visibly relax, happy that there is a way to handle the overwhelming threat. However, Saya is left completely shocked. He realizes with a jolt that the beast's location on the holographic map is exactly where Lu Sheng had indicated moments before. He looks at Lu Sheng with disbelief, wondering how this man could possess the same detection abilities as their guides, concluding his new acquaintance is becoming more mysterious. Lu Sheng, in contrast, remains silent and stoic, his expression unreadable as always. The moment is interrupted by Sire, who impatiently shouts at the guides, demanding they explain what they meant by exceptionally unlucky. Annoyed by his constant provocations, the red-haired officer tells the captain she will explain it to save them further trouble. She turns to the group and explains one scenario of bad luck. The general-level beast could suddenly move on a whim and happen to cross their path by chance. A sinister grin spreads across her face as she offers another, far more terrifying possibility. Her voice ominously concludes that it's also possible the enemy has already noticed them. As she speaks, two massive glowing red eyes appear in the dark void, confirming they have been targeted all along. Upon hearing the grave news, the recruits immediately follow the instructions given to them, their faces serious as they understand that a level 13 beast is no laughing matter. Amidst the tension, some of the warriors begin to realize that the first person to reveal the presence of this powerful beast was Saya, and they look toward his group with newfound curiosity. However, the majority of the attention falls on the trio of Tang Dun, Saya, and Lu Sheng. The other recruits find it hard to believe that this group, comprised of only level 11 warriors, could have possibly been the ones to detect the subtle traces of such a high-level creature. Even the gluttonous captain watches Tang Dun with a focused, analytical gaze. The captain's attention quickly shifts as he does a mental head count and realizes that one person is missing from the group, Huang Ji, who had already fled in secret. The captain shows no concern over the deserter, explaining to the red-haired officer that an old fox like Huang Ji naturally has his own methods for survival, having made it through many dangerous situations before. As the guides begin to fly away, Saya looks to Lu Sheng for guidance, nervously asking if they should follow them, and then questions the actions of the absent Huang Ji. Lu Sheng, however, remains silent and serious, deep in his own analysis. He observes that, just as the guide mentioned, the level 12 warriors were unable to resist the mental influence of the level 13 beast. He recognizes that this ability to manipulate emotions is remarkably similar to the emotional control power granted by his own divine crystal Tao. He reflects on the fact that his own spiritual power, having reached level 12 through the divine crystal Tao, already gives him control over 4 distinct emotions, making his mental fortitude far superior to that of the beast. This leads him to a critical question. Was the chaos they just experienced caused by only a fraction of the beast's full power field? Or is the divine crystal Tao of Duan Yifeng even more powerful than he had initially thought? Lu Sheng concludes that the second option is more likely. After all, the divine crystal Tao is a level 15 technique comparable to the stellar Tao. Realizing its potential, he decides he needs to perfect his control over the 4-color emotional spiritual power, sensing it will be an incredibly useful tool. During the treacherous journey that awaits them, Tang Dun and Saya are about to become the perfect, unsuspecting test subjects for Lu Sheng's experiments. Lu Sheng is happily manipulating ghost-like versions of his 2 companions, ready to practice his newfound emotional control abilities on them. Following the lead of the guides, the group's path through the void becomes erratic and unpredictable. They stop and start frequently, sometimes pausing for only a few minutes, and other times remaining stationary for half a day at a time. They continue to encounter exotic beasts, but the recruits' attitude has changed completely. Gone is their earlier greed and enthusiasm. Now, they cautiously avoid the creatures whenever possible, clearly shaken by the previous events. Suddenly, the gluttonous captain raises his hand, bringing the entire group to another abrupt halt. The constant stopping frays the nerves of the recruits, who begin to complain amongst themselves, wondering when they will ever reach the base and worrying that the level 13 beast might catch up to them. The pressure becomes too much for Saya, who turns to Lu Sheng with a terrified expression, asking what they should do and if he thinks they can even survive. Tang Dun, however, scolds Saya for his cowardice, pointing out that he is a level 11 warrior. Saya retorts, asking if Tang Dun isn't worried at all. To everyone's surprise, Tang Dun's face breaks into a wide, blushing smile as he bursts out laughing, declaring that he is actually very happy. Saya looks at him with utter confusion, asking if he has gone insane and what there is to be happy about in their current situation. Tang Dun cheerfully explains that his wife gave birth to their 8th child just before he left, and he is excited to go home and see his family. Saya whispers to Tang Dun and questioning if it is really a good thing that his wife gave birth while he was away on a long mission. Tang Dun happily ignores the implication, declaring that more people means more fun. Overcome with joy, he pulls a struggling Saya into a bone-crushing hug. Saya is surprised how hard his pectoral muscles are. While Tang Dun joyfully hugs a struggling Saya, Lu Sheng watches with a thoughtful expression. He internally analyzes the scene, noting the stark contrast between Saya's fear and Tang Dun's pure joy. He concludes that his experiment with emotional control is integrating much better in the real world, compared to the clumsy, discordant effect it had on the passenger back on the ship. The sight of Tang Dun's fatherly joy makes Lu Sheng's thoughts drift to his own family. His expression softens as he wonders if his own child will have been born by the time he is able to return to the sub-Jupiter sector. His momentary warmth is replaced by a serious, contemplative look. He touches his chin as he recalls a crucial fact. Unfortunately, all contact with the outside world was severed the moment they entered the battlefield, a unique characteristic of this strange space, leaving him unable to check on his family. After a brief pause for the group to regain their composure, the guides refocus on the mission. The gluttonous captain's eyes glow with energy as he announces that they can now continue, urging everyone to get moving. Relieved that they are finally on the move again, the recruits cheer and surge forward, following the guides through the pink-hued void. However, the progress is immediately halted when Saya stops dead, his head whipping around in confusion. He shouts for everyone to wait a moment, announcing with alarm that Sire has vanished from the group. The other recruits stop and look around, murmuring in confusion, while the gluttonous captain turns with a serious expression, acknowledging the sudden disappearance. The red-haired officer looks at the captain, wondering if Sire's departure is significant. The captain, looking stressed, decides not to worry about it for now, stating that everything will be decided once they return to the base. He gives the order to continue moving forward. Lu Sheng, however, is quietly analyzing the situation. He realizes that Sayer managed to leave the group without being detected by his mental energy monitoring. He considers that perhaps he wasn't specifically watching Sayer, which is why he failed to notice his departure. Meanwhile, Tangdun and Saya discuss the event with relief. Saya comments that Sayer was a lunatic to begin with and had absorbed many beast cores, so it's likely he had malicious intentions. He concludes they are better off without him, and Tangdun agrees, coldly stating that he would be happy if Sayer just died out there on his own. As the group continues their journey through the vast, pink-hued cosmic void, things take a strange and unsettling turn. After traveling for most of the day, a head count reveals a horrifying truth. 3 more recruits have suddenly vanished without a trace. The discovery makes the expressions of the guides, the red-haired officer, and the gluttonous captain turn incredibly serious. Panic begins to spread like wildfire through the remaining recruits. The realization that their comrades are disappearing right beside them in the blink of an eye fills them with a chilling fear, and everyone begins to worry that they will be the next to go. As the oppressive fear grows, one of the recruits clutches his head in distress. While the others lose their composure, Lu Sheng watches the developing situation with a cold, analytical gaze, sensing that something is terribly wrong. The 2 guides exchange a grim look, with the red-haired officer confirming her suspicion that they are facing the worst-case scenario. Her fear is validated as a massive, singular red eye materializes in the void, staring directly at them. She realizes they are being actively hunted. In a panic, she urges the captain to immediately contact a level 15 expert for backup, admitting that they cannot handle this threat on their own and will be annihilated if help does not arrive. The captain, looking equally stressed, reports that he has already sent the alert. He informs her that a powerful figure known as Hai Jidao is on his way. Hearing this, the red-haired officer lets out a long sigh of relief, her tension easing slightly. She expresses her hope that if Hai Jidao arrives in time, he should be able to handle the situation, though a worried expression still lingers on her face. The red-haired officer formulates a plan with the gluttonous captain, stating that their only goal is to buy time and rendezvous safely with the incoming backup. She decides to inform the new recruits of the plan to calm their nerves, and the captain agrees. Following this simple explanation from their guides, the panic among the recruits slowly subsides, and a sense of order is restored to the group as they float in the void. Saya, his face still tense, confirms to Lu Sheng that they are indeed being attacked by a level 13 exotic beast. Tangdun, trying to be optimistic, adds that a level 13 expert is on the way to help them, so there is no need to worry excessively. However, Lu Sheng turns to Saya and poses a grim hypothetical question. What would happen if the powerful expert did not arrive in time to save them? Lu Sheng's calm demeanor shatters. His eyes glow with intense focus as a powerful surge of blue lightning and energy erupts around his body, crackling in the void. This sudden, dramatic question leaves both Saya and Tangdun completely stunned, utterly confused. Saya reacts with shock to Lu Sheng's unspoken implication, asking what he meant. Sweating with fear, Saya demands to know if their situation is practically a suicide mission. Lu Sheng offers a calm, confident smile, telling his friend not to be pessimistic and assuring him that finding the right moment to flee will ensure their survival. This confidence leaves both Saya and Tangdun speechless and confused, unable to understand Lu Sheng's lack of fear. Despite the oppressive atmosphere, some recruits try to rally their spirits, noting they are not yet halfway to the base and can make it if they rest. With this fragile boost in morale, the group sets off again, flying through the dangerous red void and shouting words of encouragement. However, their hope is short-lived. Unease spreads as the journey progresses and the group continues to lose members one by one. When the guides call for a 5th stop, the total number of disappeared recruits has already reached a horrifying 8. The faces of the 2 guides are grim, and the remaining warriors are filled with terror. This elite team, once confident warriors from many star sectors, is now a paranoid mob where everyone keeps a suspicious distance. Suddenly, the gluttonous captain clenches his fist and shouts for everyone to halt, ordering them not to advance any further. He addresses the survivors with a final command, declaring they will wait right there until Hai Jidao arrives. He says this is their only hope to resolve the crisis. The captain, sweating and looking grim, admits this is the first time they have encountered a situation like this, and they must wait for backup. As the captain makes his stand, Lu Sheng watches silently from the crowd, his expression unreadable as he observes the guide's actions. A small knowing smile plays on his lips as his eyes glow blue. He thinks to himself that the situation has become very interesting. Lu Sheng reflects on his actions, revealing that since the first disappearances, he has used his mental energy to monitor every person on the team. He notes the guides are doing the same, confirmed by the purple energy from the red-haired officer's hand as she maintains her own surveillance. Lu Sheng analyzes the difference between their abilities, explaining that mental power vigilance is based on the concept of coverage. He compares the guide's perception to a person in a room who can only see what is directly in their line of sight. They are unaware of the bigger picture, like a security camera positioned above them that can see the entire room and every move. In this scenario, the guides are the people in the room, watching over the recruits with a limited perspective. Lu Sheng sees himself as the one in the security room, capable of observing every monitor and the entire situation from a superior vantage point. With eyes glowing, Lu Sheng touches his chin and begins to calculate the complex situation they are in. He visualizes the battlefield as concentric circles of perception. The first level is the team, the second level is the guides, and the third is the crowd influenced by the beast. The fourth level is himself, observing everything with superior awareness. However, he glances at the recruits and realizes a flaw in his perception. Someone is missing, but he has no memory of how they vanished into thin air. This leads him to a startling conclusion. There is a fifth level of existence operating beyond his sight in the red void. The thought sends a jolt of genuine shock through him. He whips his head around to find clues, while Tang Dun and Saya look on in confusion at his sudden agitation. He clutches his head, discovering a terrifying problem. He can no longer clearly remember the faces of those who just disappeared. Their features are becoming blurry in his memory. A shiver of panic runs through him. This is truly creepy. He knows his power level makes memory loss impossible. His mind records everything with perfect clarity, even a face from decades ago. He understands the enemy's true ability. Oblivion, this entity induces memory loss, taking victims while making everyone forget they were ever there. With this realization, Lu Sheng knows he can no longer rely on his mental power for surveillance. Against this enemy, his mental senses are like a net full of holes, useless for tracking a foe that can erase the memory of its movements. With a determined glint in his eyes, he formulates a new plan. If mental power won't work, what should he use instead? Amidst the despair, the recruits lose their composure and cry out in fear. Lu Sheng stands apart, observing the chaos with a detached expression. A realization strikes him as he remembers the ability from the divine crystal Tao, the power to manipulate emotions. He concludes that while his emotional control is weaker than the beast's, it should track clues. For now, he can control anger, sadness, fear, and joy. With a new plan in mind, Lu Sheng unleashes a surge of blue energy from his hand. He links himself to everyone's emotions to monitor them as a network. His power flows into the minds of the panicked recruits around him. His scan reveals overwhelming panic, anger, sadness, and fear are present in everyone, but joy has practically disappeared from the group. The recruits express their misery, one man wishing he had never come and another fearfully agreeing. Suddenly, a recruit bursts into manic laughter, wondering why he is suddenly thinking about his ex-wife falling into a cesspool. The strange laughter spreads, with another warrior laughing hysterically, creating an unsettling scene of forced merriment. Lu Sheng uses this network to keep a precise count. As he monitors the emotional seeds, he notes this is the 8th round of the beast's attack. In the back, one emotional signature is silently extinguished. He senses the change instantly, his eyes narrowing as he realizes the enemy is making its move. The laughing man's eyes turn bloodshot, rage contorts his face, and he screams as a dark aura forces him to fly in a specific direction. Those around him, still laughing, remain oblivious. Apart from Lu Sheng, no one else notices that another person has just been taken. Lu Sheng concludes the victim was taken by the beast, and any attempt to stop him would be futile as the power gap is too large. He realizes that if he attracts attention, he will undoubtedly become the creature's next primary target. Despite the danger, he is eager to face the enemy. He wants to personally experience the beast's power of emotional manipulation. He weighs the risks, questioning whether he should risk his life when the fate of those who disappeared is unknown. Gritting his teeth with resolve, he makes his decision. He decides to face the beast, telling himself that since it is only a level 13 creature, he has no reason to be afraid. Lu Sheng discreetly moves toward the bat, blending in with the weakest and most terrified recruits. He predicts this pocket of fear will be the enemy's next target as the warriors around him mutter about wanting to go home. As expected, another emotional spark is extinguished. A nearby man grunts in agony as a dark energy envelops him. The man lets out an inhuman roar, his face contorted in pain as his mind is taken over by the beast's influence. Just like the others, he turns to leave the group, moving under the enemy's control. Before the man can depart, Lu Sheng places a firm hand on his shoulder, stopping him. Lu Sheng asks if he is alright, knowing this interference is guaranteed to draw the enemy's attention directly to him. A moment later, his senses flare. He feels a powerful presence focusing on him and knows his plan worked. The beast has arrived.